dark comets may be the biggest extinction level event that we face. Let's remember we do have a lot of scars on the Earth from impacts. There are many cosmic catastrophes that could do us in completely irrespective of anything that happens here on Earth. A star could pass into our solar system and swallow up our planet whole, or eject us from our orbit and cause us to permanently freeze over. A supernova or a gamma ray burst could go off too close to us, disintegrating all life on Earth's surface. Or, as we know it did at least once before, some 65 million years ago, a large fast-moving object like a comet or asteroid could have a catastrophic collision with Earth. At least if we're prepared, we ought to see one coming and be able to take preparations to mitigate it. But what if there is no chance? What if an incoming comet is somehow unseeable? David Bertone heard about that possibility and wants to know. And the author says, I recently came across a few articles regarding dark comets, and to say the least it freaked me out. Is Napier right about the dark comets? Are they truly a threat to us on Earth? Have we lots of threats to life on Earth? We have, and we're getting struck by a large, fast-moving, unexpected object is certainly among them. Bill Napier is a scientist who studies potentially hazardous objects from outer space. He rightly points out that while most efforts to catalog the potential dangers to Earth focus on near-Earth objects like asteroids that leave the main belt and cross into Earth's orbit, that might not be a good reflection of what's actually likely to get to us. Or is it necessarily an asteroid orbiting interior to Jupiter or a comet orbiting exterior to the orbit of Neptune, from the Oort cloud that is, just waiting to get perturbed and flung into the inner solar system? There are plenty of objects orbiting in between the orbits of the four gas giants, known as centaurs, that could be hurtled inwards without any warning, and most of them have not been catalogued. And Napier postulates that many of these centaur comets or asteroids may be invisible to us even after being flung inward until it's far too late. Let's remember that recently we had interstellar comets coming in us as well. And the astronomers said that we should expect more. Now, going back to this brings up an important question. What could render a comet dark or otherwise unseeable? It isn't simply going to be a comet that comes towards us from the outer solar system. That's terrible at reflecting light. Sure, a centaur could have all its volatile acids boiled off over billions of years, reducing its reflectivity tremendously. As obvious as that seems, the amount of light the sun emits is so extreme that even a medium-sized comet or a centaur that absorbed 99.9% of the sun's sunlight would still be easily visible at the distance of Saturn. Moreover, comets tend to be made up of mostly ices, which are highly reflective and which get brought to the surface as a comet heats up. The only thoroughly dark bodies in our solar system are more like our moon, which still reflects light very brightly. As any causal watcher of the night sky will tell you, an object that was as dark as any naturally occurring abundant element or compound would still be visible from its reflected sunlight, particularly if you looked in the infrared portion of the spectrum. But there are other possibilities to consider. What if an incoming, highly reflective comet were oriented bizarrely? What if it was quite icy but reflected all the sunlight that struck it away from Earth, like some kind of strange crystal? Let's be obvious, but it's less obvious, but that would not work either. When an object like that entering the planet-containing portion of the solar system, it would heat up, and heat acting on the ices causes the development of a long tail that points away from the sun, and this will easily be observable from one of the many professional or even amateur all-sky surveys before too much time has passed. But perhaps nature will conspire to make that tail unseeable from our point of view. In order for the tail to be hidden, the incoming comet would need to be directly straight at us, aligned so that the sun, the earth, and the comet made a straight line. And this is the way the amateur astronomers found the interstellar comets. They were coming in from behind the sun. And the space agency's huge telescopes don't dip that far down towards the horizon. They are not able to do that in order to pick up these comets coming in from the horizon. Now, going back to this, if the tail points directly away from us and is hidden behind the comet, that would render everything invisible and we would not be able to see it, right? Unfortunately, that's wrong as well. Comet tails don't simply point away from the sun. They spread outwards away from the comet. Even a head-on comet like this would have a visible coma around it. And again, amateur or professional astronomers would catch this quickly, but there's a real danger if an invisible comet, and that's very different from the form that Napier envisions in any of his scenarios. Imagine, if you will, that a bright, reflective tail and coma containing comet were headed right for us. Is there any direction it could approach us that you can think of that would render it completely unable to be seen? There is, from the direction of the sun. And that's where the amateur astronomer saw the interstellar comets coming from. So telescopes don't dare point too close to the sun, even from space, since even a glimmer of direct sunlight will ruin and fry your optical system. If any object, comet, asteroid, centaur, even a kicked up fragment from a collision with Mercury, either approached the sun from behind it, from our perspective, or were slingshooting around it, the right trajectory could send it hurtling towards Earth. This is part of the reason why having NASA stereo satellites online is so important. At this point, the technology to deflect an incoming asteroid or comet a significant amount in a short amount of time has not been developed, but at least by having a set of observatories at different locations in the solar system, we could see everything that was headed for us. Well, this system did not pick up the interstellar asteroids. Only the amateur astronomers did. So in the future, more sensitive infrared all-sky surveys will make a far more complete census of the centaurs in our solar system, and the launch of WFIRST in the 2020s will help us map potentially hazardous objects to much greater distances than we've presently done. But the odds of a distant object being hurtled into us after being perturbed for the first time are exceedingly small. The much scarier prospect is of a long-period comet being kicked ever so slightly into Earth's orbital path. Comet Swift-Tuttle, which gave rise to the Perseids, is the single most dangerous object known to humanity and has a chance to impact us with more than 20 times the energy of the legendary dinosaur killer in the 4400s, but we've got plenty of time until that might happen, over 2,400 years in the future. In the meantime, take heart in the fact that, except for sun-directed asteroids and comets, we can see everything large that could come headed our way. And if we're lucky enough to make it as a civilization for another 1,000 years or so, our technology will likely have advanced to the point where perhaps asteroids and comet deflection is not such a daunting task after all. This is from the Extinction Protocol on Embedded Reality. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.